Welcome back, one and all, to Stories from the Big Chair. This is part 6 of our Tomb of Annihilation story. Welcome to the jungle. If you have not yet watched the first 5 parts of this series, I highly recommend you do so, as there will be some pretty major spoilers for the events of both Port Nyanzaru and Fort Bulgarian covered today. Previously, a visit to the merchant princes Akini Afa and Wakanga Otamu shed some light on the Death Curse mystery, and a heist did not go to plan, as the Flaming Fist stronghold Fort Bulgarian was lit up like a bonfire. The party fled, hoping to leave their mistakes behind them and finally leave the city. Dawn breaks on day 4 of their stay in Port Nyanzaru. The noisy hubbub of city life swells around them, and our adventurers prepare to kiss goodbye to civilization for quite some time. The Death Curse remains. The jungles of Chult beckon. There are just a few things that need doing first, and a few questions needing answers. Tethys the Paladin, Revna the Ranger, Bori the Fighter, Bumble the Druid, and Ars the Rogue awake in the Thundering Lizard Inn to prepare themselves for the day ahead. Their primary stop is the Temple of Savras, the deity of divination and foresight. At the suggestion of merchant prince Wakanga Otamu, they should seek out Father Zitembi at the Temple of Savras to see if he can use some of his divination powers to discover the location of the source of the Death Curse, or at the very least, point them in the direction of where they should search. However, before they go to the temple, they have one final look at the notice board in the Red Bazaar to see if there is any more work they could pick up. One notice that stands out to Tethys in particular reads the following: Escort to Camp Vengeance needed. Request for capable expedition guides or guards. Priests need escorting to the Order of the Gauntlet's command post, Camp Vengeance, a few days' ride into the jungle down the river Soshenstar. Payment will be made half in advance, half upon arrival. Seek Undral Silvertusk in the Warehouse District. Tethys has been an established member of the Order of the Gauntlet for much of his life. He knows that the Gauntlets stand for justice and protection. They vow to protect others from the depredations of evildoers, placing their faith in deities such as Torm, god of courage and valor, Helm, god of protection and guardianship, and Tyr, god of law and justice. They bring the strength of their faith, their hearts, and their weapons to bear against villainy. Not all members of the party are necessarily swayed by a good sense of morality, but Tethys stresses the importance of them gaining allies whilst in this foreign land, especially after last night's events with the Flaming Fist. Even though Tethys' goal in coming to Chult is primarily for personal reasons, the Order of the Gauntlet are an influential and powerful faction throughout all of Faerun. There would be plenty of merits that come along with being in their good books. A good point indeed. So with that, they head to the Warehouse District. This path takes them to the Harbour Ward. Accommodating ships of all sizes, the eastern portion of the harbour is reserved for the use of merchant princes, but the rest is available to all. The warehouses that line the dockyard billow smoke high over the city before dissipating into rays of light that cascade over the rooftops and reflect glisteningly from the rippling waters. Goods of every type being shipped in and out of Port Nyanzaru are stored in these warehouses. Canals are cut between the rows of large buildings, allowing ships to be towed by harnessed dinosaurs directly to the desired warehouse for easier loading and unloading. A ship can easily block a canal, so good traffic management is required, which is one of the harbour master's responsibilities as they observe from their office overlooking the harbour. Amongst the busy canals and workers and dinosaurs moving to and fro, a makeshift camp has been erected near one of the warehouses. A silver flag flies above it, bearing the image of a gauntleted hand gripping a sword, the symbol of the Order of the Gauntlet. Various warriors, having doffed their armour, move around, carrying boxes and crates of supplies from warehouses to a couple of canoes stationed at the water's edge. Others seem to be assisting with the loading and unloading of other merchant supplies, whilst others still pore over various incomplete maps. The entire operation appears to be being overseen by a young half-orc woman wearing priestly robes. Approaching said individuals, the half-orc woman introduces herself as Undril Silvertusk. She recognizes immediately that Tethys has connections to their company because of his literal gauntlet. All ranking members of the Order of the Gauntlet are given an impressive silver gauntlet to symbolize their affiliation and rank. Tethys mentions that they saw the advertisement on the notice board and have come to offer their assistance. No doubt you're aware, Undril Silvertusk says. The jungles are no safe place, especially for those like myself, who are less gifted with defending ourselves. We need strength, protection, and warriors who are capable of putting their lives at risk to serve the greater good. She goes on to explain that she needs to deliver herself and a few other priests, plus a packet of dispatches from her supervisors to Commander Niles Breakbone at Camp Vengeance. Undril was led to believe that she could simply buy a horse in the city and ride out to the camp, but now that she has seen the terrain and the conditions, she knows that that is clearly not a possibility. Therefore, they are planning on taking a canoe down the River Soshenstar, hoping to arrive at Camp Vengeance in just a few short days. The job sounds easy enough, the pay is good, and the promise of new potential allies lead the party to accept the offer. Undril says that she could be ready to leave in a short number of hours. The party agree to return to her later in the day once they themselves are ready to set off. Travelling west towards the Merchant's Ward, the Temple of Savarus looms heavily over the building tops. The giant eye atop the pinnacle of the holy place stares across the city like an ever-watchful protector, or perhaps an omnipresent observer. Entering the temple, the floor is flooded with streaks of colour permeating from stained glass windows pierced by the sun. Robed individuals dot the open space. Diviners, soothsayers, and those wishing to learn more. Some are slumped in prayer, others are engaged in philosophical debates. At the head of the temple, an elderly Chultan gentleman carrying a staff appears to be conversing with a young half-elf woman, clearly not from Chult. Upon her shoulder, a small dragon perches. They catch the end of the conversation. She is asking him for help in finding somebody, but she seems a little frustrated, perhaps because she isn't getting the answers she wants. The party approaches, and upon doing so, the young woman notices them and immediately changes her tune. She asks if they are heading into the jungle. When they say yes, she asks if she could join them, as they could help her in finding her father, Artus Simba. She introduces herself as Zandala, and the dragon, a Sado dragon named Summerwise. She goes on to say how she's worried about her father. He rustled the wrong feathers some time ago, and since has run away to hide in the jungles. It's a dangerous place, and she is concerned for his safety. Upon seeing her closer, they notice some dragon-like scales across the side of Zandala's face. She says not to worry, she possesses innate magical powers, and that is why she looks the way she does. Ars takes Revna to the side. "I don't like this," he says. "The Harpers didn't mention anything about Artus Simba having a daughter, least of all one that's here in Chult. Does it not all seem a little convenient to you?" "I would never forgive myself if we turned her away and she turned out to be telling the truth. And besides, she could be valuable in helping us find him." "I'm not sure, but at the very least we should see if she knows any more than we do." Zandala says that she heard that Artus Simba left Port Nyanzaru with a reptilian man who doesn't talk and smells funny. Could be useful. The party tell her that they plan to head into the jungle this very day, and she is welcome to join them. However, they are initially travelling with the Order of the Gauntlet to transport arms and supplies to their base in the jungle. Now, upon hearing this, Zandala politely declines the offer, stating that helping the Order of the Gauntlet would only get in the way of her true goal. And with that, she leaves. Now for the true purpose of their being there. The elderly man, Grandfather Zitembe, introduces himself to the party. He portends to knowing that they will be coming here today. A lot of people in the city seem to be expecting them. As they have done so many times by now, they explain their reason for being in Chult. Grandfather Zitembe explains that he knows of the death curse. He has seen its effects in person, but he is in disbelief that it has any connection to Chult. Regardless, he senses something, within Revna specifically, that there is something he wishes to get off his chest. After a moment of hesitation, Revna speaks. He used to have a very close friend, a human man named Brother Aemon. Now, Brother Aemon was a soothsayer and a missionary of Ogma, the god of knowledge. Brother Aemon helped Revna through some trying times, and in reality, he was the only true friend Revna ever had. Brother Aemon died recently, but on his deathbed, he spoke some words of prophecy to Revna that ultimately led him here. Death curse, Chult, terrible danger, hidden power deep in the jungle. Beware the Serpent King. Grandfather Zitembe seems fascinated by these words. As if his youth was restored to him, he bursts into action. He requests that his assistant, Inite, prepare the ritual chamber. Zitembe explains to the party that if they are willing to give a small donation to the church, he will, quote, consult the guides for them, perform a divination ritual to find out more about what they seek. A donation is made, and Zitembe says that the ritual might take a day or two, time that the party did not have. However, after their trip to Camp Vengeance, they will likely travel back to Port Nyanzaru, whereupon they will reconvene with Grandfather Zitembe so he can share what he has learnt. A deal is made. Before they go, he offers one final piece of wisdom. Revna's friend's words mentioned a Serpent King. He does not know who that is exactly, but it could relate to the Yanti, a humanoid serpentine species that dwell deep within the jungles of Chult. They are formidable, numerous, and unquestioningly evil. Final preparations are put in order, whilst the party make their last trip to the Grand Souk market to purchase the final things they'll need before setting off. Tethys pays to get his Kopesh silvered. Apparently it helps with slaying mystical creatures, and purchases an elegant shield to go along with it. Bori, using his large winnings from the dinosaur race, makes some modifications to his armor, a lighter material that will weigh him down less and stop him from roasting alive on their travels. Revna buys a few rain catchers, clever contraptions used for collecting fresh water whilst in the jungle. He also buys a vast amount of insect repellent, a salve that is applied to the skin daily to help protect travelers from diseases. Bumble purchases a canoe for the group. They'll be needing that for their travels down the river later that day. And Ars buys himself 2 Yicklewas, a traditional Chultan weapon that looks similar to a shortened spear. The adventurers take the opportunity to discuss who they are going to hire as a wilderness guide for their travels. They stand by a notice board in the harbour ward that contains the ads for all the different guides in the city. Everyone has their opinions on who should be the best choice. Well, after last night's antics, we can certainly rule Shargo out of the running, Bori says.
And that Masharib, Bumble continues. I didn't like the cut of his jib.
Those 2 from the dinosaur race, Farul and Gondolo, Tethys added. It looks like they can't tell an ass from an elbow.
I think Hugh Hackingstone is our best option, Bori claims. A fellow dwarf like myself, so we know he can be trusted.
Yes, but he also only has 1 arm, Ars retorts. Seems he can barely look after himself. I propose the Tabaxi twins. They appear to know how to get around without drawing attention. Perhaps, Tethys steps in, but they also work for a company of mercenaries who can be trusted as far as they can be thrown. My vote is for Azaka. She's a capable warrior, lived here her whole life.
I still like the sound of this Salida. Seems she doesn't take shit from anyone. That's what we need, Bumble says.
I propose the druid Kawasha. Revner chimes in. I know about surviving in the jungle, and I trust him. He is a local. He has friends in the jungle. His heart is in the right place. And he is a part of the Emerald Enclave. Bumble, you have ties to them as well, yes? And Tethys, you said that it would be wise to make allies here. With that, their next stop takes them south of the city. Atop a small hillock lies a sanctuary surrounded by foliage. A large wooden building with a grand tree protruding up through the center. A green flag flies outside the building bearing the symbol of a stag, the Emerald Enclave. Inside, wildlife runs rampant throughout. The sun beats down, highlighting a beautiful and impressive oak jutting up so high you can't see the top. Smaller blossom trees line the interior with small animals scurrying around the place. Bumble takes the lead. She explains to the others that she hails from some woodlands just east of Baldur's Gate. There she lived in simple tranquility with her animal companions, the closest of which was a rat named Clive. There was only one small problem. Rats do not live a long time. Clive met his end under the paw of a bear, and Bumble was beside herself. She travelled to Baldur's Gate, seeking aid, and she found the Emerald Enclave there. They told her that they would restore Clive to life if she helped them. The Enclave had a number of herbalists, botanists, and toxicologists who were also looking for herbs and plants to improve their research. If Bumble were to bring them supplies of herbs and poisons from the forest, they would restore her friends to life. This happened many a time, as Clive had the habit of unexpectedly kicking the bucket, and the Enclave would always bring him back. It was not until their resurrection stopped working that Bumble decided to seek out an end to the death curse. Somewhat gruesomely, she still carries the undead body of Clive in her pocket and has no remorse showing him off to the rest of the group, much to their disdain. Kawasha meets them here. He is ecstatic that they have chosen him to guide them through the jungle, and he will not let them down. He comes as part of a package deal too. His companion, Kopalue, more commonly known as Weed, will join too. Weed is a small, strange creature, a vegipygmy. Kawasha explains, a plant creature native to Chult. Most of Weed's species are savages, but Weed is different. The two of them can communicate with their own language of hisses and clicks, but they seem understanding of one another, and Weed appears equally as keen as Kawasha to be joining the party. Kawasha reminds them of the Enclave's chief interest, killing the undead in the jungle. Doing so will get the party a reduced fee, certainly a deal they can get behind. They slew a small troop of undead just yesterday. Bumble's connection with the Enclave gives Kawasha complete trust in the party's goals. They are ready to go at the drop of a hat, and, wanting to waste no time, the party, Kawasha, and Weed head to the warehouse district, ready to set sail. Undril Silvertusk and her entourage of Order of the Gauntlet members work to connect 3 canoes together via rope. The first canoe will occupy the party, with Kawasha and Weed to boot. The second canoe will hold Undril and the Gauntlet members, and the third will hold all the supplies that they are transporting, together creating somewhat of a carriage. Stepping into the canoe, the group take one last opportunity to bask in the beauty of civilized life. Port Nyanzaru looks back at them mournfully and longingly. Once they depart, the world will feel very different. Survival itself won't come easily. But their time in the city has come to an end. They will return soon, hopefully with some answers from Grandfather Zatembe. But for now, they must depart. Circling the outer rim of the city westward, the train of 3 canoes meanders across the water's edge until it reaches the mouth of the river Soshenstar. As the canoe drifts from the open waters into the winding river, the world seems to close in. Towering trees arc overhead, their canopies weaving a living ceiling that filters the sunlight into shifting emerald patterns. The air grows thick with the heat and the hum of unseen insects, the scent of damp earth and wild orchids heavy in every breath. Vines hang low like serpents poised to strike, and the distant cries of strange beasts echo through the undergrowth. Every ripple of the river hints at a hidden movement beneath the surface, reminders that in Cholt's jungles, life and death watch from every shadow. After not a few hours of travel, their journeying is interrupted by perhaps the least expected of all things. Not creatures from the brush or the waters below, not insects carrying diseases of all kinds, not some ancient shrine dedicated to gods long lost, but people. Atop a canoe traveling the opposite direction sits another group of adventurers, or at least what remains of one. A mage lies seriously wounded, a priest attempts to tend to her wounds, a tribal warrior sits, looking defeated. And it is headed up by a middle-aged Cholton woman, clothed in light blue garbs, carrying a staff shaped like a winged serpent. This group appear to be in disarray.
Eku, what happened?
Kawasha says, recognizing the woman. Eku is one of the other wilderness guides from Port Nyanzaru.
They were not prepared for the dangers of the jungle. This is what is left. We started with more. And we go back to the city now, empty-handed. Kawasha, I hope your people are better equipped.
A wave of doubt creeps across the adventurers.
We were ambushed by a tribe of Batiri. It wasn't long ago that I was finally able to remove the spearhead from her leg,
gesturing to the wounded mage.
Just be careful out there. I sense them watching.
They sail on.
So,
Bori breaks the awkward silence.
The fuck was all that about?
Kawasha looks at them.
Eku is a fine wilderness guide, and an even more powerful healer. If she is struggling, we have cause for concern. The Batiri, she mentioned, they are goblins. But not like you, Bumble. The goblins of Cholt are wild and feral. They wear masks to scare their adversaries and love coming up with creative ways of killing their captives. As for sensing them watching, I have no idea what she is talking about. Just keep your guard up. The river grows unnervingly still as the canoe glides through a bend in the Soshan Star. The chatter of birds fades, replaced by a slow, rhythmic splashing and paddles. Beneath the murky surface, shapes drift closer, silent, patient. A faint ripple breaks the water near the bow, then another behind. Yellow eyes glint just beneath the surface, circling. The adventurers sense it now, the sudden weight of being watched. The jungle holds its breath, and the water begins to stir, and with a roar and a crashing fountain of water, the canoe capsizes. Whew, finally, we have entered the jungles of Cholt after it being teased for a hell of a long time. Next time, their travels down the river introduce the adventurers to more of the horrors hidden in the shadows of the jungle, and a discovery is made of an old ruin filled with deadly traps. Shout out to Theo Bimson once again. His Tomb of Annihilation album is almost ready for release. Keep your ear to the ground for that one. Also, in response to a comment from Rob, asked if I could share the images I've been using for these videos. Absolutely, I will put those together and I will send a link ASAP. Either it'll pop up in the description to this video or at the very least the next one. Apologies, this video took a little longer to come out as well. Halloween is a busy old time, but we keep moving. So like, subscribe, comment, share, please and thank you, and I'll see you soon for part 7.